Over the next few weeks, the investigation dug deeper. And deeper. And deeper. Everything I had predicted unfolded with almost poetic timing. Filled Circle Titanex suspended their contract. Filled Circle 2 board members demanded an internal audit. Filled Circle HR reported irregular termination patterns. Filled Circle Compliance flagged discrepancies in approvals. Filled Circle the press started asking questions. The beautiful thing about truth is that once it's out, it multiplies. People start to remember things they ignored before. Employees talk. Clients whisper. Partners distance themselves. Soon, Martin wasn't fighting me. He was fighting 1,000 small truths he had created himself. That's the thing about careless men. They always think consequences are theoretical. Then came the board meeting. Jenna sent me updates like we were watching a live boxing match. Jenna, they're grilling him. He looks like he's melting. Jenna, OMG. They asked him about the compliance violations. He can't answer. Jenna, the chairwoman just asked why you were fired. He stuttered. Jenna, Kathy, they want to meet with you. I froze reading that. Me, the woman he called dead weight. Well, how poetic. I agreed to the meeting. Not because I wanted my job back. No part of me wanted to return to a place that had abused my loyalty. But because I wanted them to know exactly what kind of leader they had put at the top. I walked into that boardroom wearing the confidence I had rediscovered. Calm, precise, unbothered. I told them the truth. Every quietly documented truth. Every ignored warning. Every reckless decision. When I finished, the room was silent. The chairwoman finally spoke. Kathy, why didn't you come to us earlier? I smiled sadly. Because when you're treated like dead weight, you forget you were ever valuable. She nodded slowly. And that was when I knew. Martin's empire was gone. 2 weeks later, the headline dropped. Greater than Halitech CEO resigns amid investigation. Resigns. Corporate language for, jump before you're shoved. Grace called me laughing. I told you that man would burn the place down. Thank you for saving the rest of us from the smoke. Jenna texted me heart emojis. The chairwoman sent me a polite thank you email. And Martin, he sent nothing. Because men like him only communicate when they're in control. And he wasn't in control anymore. People think revenge is fire. Anger. Explosion. Chaos. But the real revenge. The real, satisfying kind. It's restoration. It's rebuilding the parts of you someone tried to break. It's proving that their dismissal wasn't the end of you, it was the beginning. I didn't destroy Martin. All I did was stop protecting him. He destroyed himself. 15 years, he called me dead weight. Useless. Replaceable. But I wasn't dead weight. I was the foundation. And when he removed the foundation, the building fell. Not because I pushed it. But because that's what happens when you pull out the wrong piece. I didn't return to Hale Tech. Some stories don't require a full circle ending. I started my own consulting business. Grace became my first client. Then my second. Then my biggest. Jenna eventually left Hale Tech too, joined me 6 months later. We built something real. Something honest. Something that no arrogant man could take away with a single sentence. Sometimes, when it rains, I think about the day Martin fired me. The smirk on his face. The trash bag he handed me. The certainty that he was untouchable. And I smile. Because in the end, he wasn't the one who wrote my story. I was. People still ask me, do you regret anything? My answer is always the same. I regret staying silent for so long. But I don't regret speaking when it mattered. Revenge didn't make me whole. Reclaiming myself did. And if I could go back to that rainy Monday morning when he called me dead weight, I'd whisper to that broken version of myself. You're not dead weight. You're dynamite. And one day, you're going to blow the right bridge. My name is Kathy Hale, and for 15 years I believed I understood what loyalty meant. I believed in waking up early, staying late, keeping promises that weren't mine to keep, and holding together a company that would have fallen apart if not for the people who worked in the shadows. I believed that if you gave people your best, they'd give you at least a little humanity back. I was wrong. Because on a rainy Monday morning, the kind where the sky hangs low and the air feels heavy with bad omens, the new CEO looked me straight in the eyes, forced a corporate smile, and said I had to go. Then, as if the words weren't enough, as if humiliation needed seasoning, he added. Greater than, just getting rid of dead weight. Dead weight. That's what 15 years of my life meant to him. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't argue. I just felt something inside me go quiet. Not broken. Quiet, like the universe had handed me a match and whispered, light it. And so I did. What follows is the story of how a woman dismissed as dead weight set fire to the world of the man who underestimated her. And how, in the ashes, she found herself Agai. The day Martin fired me was the day a version of me died. Not the real me, not the fighter, not the strategist, not the woman I used to be before corporate life sanded down all my sharp edges. No, the version of me that died was the one who thought silence was strength. The one who believed loyalty was noble even when it was one-sided. The one who thought power belonged only to those with a title. After he fired me, I went home and stared at myself in the bathroom mirror. My mascara had smudged from the rain, but I didn't wipe it off. It made me look wild, unpredictable, free. For the first time in years, I truly saw myself. And I whispered, "They're going to regret this." That was my rebirth. Martin Langston became CEO on a Tuesday, fired me by Monday, and somehow thought that made him decisive. Most people saw him as brilliant, sharp jawline, expensive suit, the type of guy who quotes leadership books he never fully read. But working under someone for months tells you what polished presentations don't. He wasn't brilliant. He was careless. And carelessness is dangerous when you're in charge of millions of dollars. I had kept track of things, inconsistencies, shortcuts, arrogant decisions that ignored compliance guidelines. Not because I was planning anything back then, but because documenting chaos was the only way the rest of us could survive it. So when he removed me like a stain he didn't want to clean, he accidentally released the person he should have feared the most. A quiet woman with 15 years of receipts. I didn't start with revenge. Not immediately. The first few days after being fired were a blur of shock and anger, but also something else, clarity. I didn't have the company anymore. But I had the truth. And the truth, in the right hands, is a weapon. I sat in my living room with a cup of coffee and opened the folder on my laptop labeled, HT, Issues and Notes. Years of warnings I'd emailed. Documents I'd saved. Screenshots of irregular decision making. Proof of client complaints Martin had dismissed. Records of budgets he'd overridden without justification. 15 years of being careful. Now those years were ammunition. I knew exactly which agency to contact, the one that oversees corporate financial integrity. I didn't accuse anyone directly. I just asked a few concerned questions. Exactly the kind that would trigger a review. They replied in 4 days. Greater than, a preliminary investigation has begun. That was when my heartbeat changed. Not faster, steadier. Purposeful. Something had begun unraveling at Hale Tech, and for once, I wasn't the one holding it together. There was one more weakness in Martin's empire, one he didn't expect. Her name was Grace Parker, CFO of Detached Logistics. A powerhouse. Sharp eyes. Sharper mind. Someone who never forgot when a man talked down to her. Martin had done exactly that. I remembered the call clearly. He had been rude, dismissive, condescending, and when she pushed back, he'd said, "I don't need advice from someone who doesn't understand our financial model." She understood it better than he ever would. The moment he hung up, my phone rang. Grace was furious, and she'd told me something that stuck with me for months. Greater than, one day, someone is going to expose that man. And if they ever come knocking, I'll have plenty to give them. Now was that day. When I called her, she didn't hesitate. "Kathy, oh sweetheart, tell me you didn't call to talk about him." "I did," I said. "And I think things are about to get serious." She exhaled sharply. "Good. I've been waiting." Grace emailed me documents, financial discrepancies she had noticed in contracts, unexplained changes Martin pushed through, decisions that made no business sense. They weren't nuclear bombs, but they were pressure cracks, and an investigator loves pressure cracks. I forwarded a few samples anonymously. By the next morning, the agency asked for a formal conversation. That was when I knew the match had fully caught. My friend Jenna, who still worked at Hale Tech, called me whispering like she was hiding under her desk. "Kathy, it's happening. Investigators are in the building." I smiled without meaning to. "What are they looking at?" "Everything. They asked for quarterly reports, budget approvals, all executive signatures." "And Martin," she lowered her voice, "he's freaking out." "What did he say?" "He thinks someone set him up." I laughed under my breath. "He's right. You didn't." "Oh, Jenna," I said, "you have no idea how much I did." 3 days later, the doorbell rang. I knew who it was before I opened it. Martin stood there, sweating, trembling, and angrier than I'd ever seen him. His perfect CEO mask had cracked. Now he looked human, scared, flawed, cornered. "Kathy," he said, voice shaking, "we need to talk." "No," I said calmly, "you need to leave." He pushed past me anyway. "Arrogance doesn't die quietly. What did you give them?" he demanded. What did you say? Everything, I answered. His mouth dropped open. You think you can destroy me? He hissed. You think you can take down the CEO of Hale Tech? Martin, I said gently, you're not fighting Hale Tech. You're fighting the truth. He looked at me like he finally understood the kind of woman I was. A quiet woman. A patient woman. A dangerous woman. You're making a huge mistake, he whispered. No, I said, opening the door for him. Firing me was your mistake. He left shaking. I locked the door behind him, and smiled.